Hi, friend, and welcome to this episode of Radiant Resilience. We are always looking for new guests on the podcast. I want to highlight you if you have a story of resilience that inspires others. Everyone has a story, and I believe that sharing yours can help others feel less alone. Are you ready to share your journey and inspire others? I want to hear from you. Every story has the power to impact lives and foster a supportive community. If you have a tale of overcoming adversity, personal growth, or a unique perspective on life's challenges, I would love to have you as a guest on the podcast. To become a guest, please email us directly at radiantresiliencepodcast@gmail.com or click the link in the show notes to become a guest. Join us in spreading hope, strength, and inspiration one story at a time. Be brave and share your story so others feel less alone. I hope to see you soon. Before we begin, we want to acknowledge that some stories and discussions in this episode of Radiant Resilience may touch on sensitive and potentially triggering topics. These may include themes of discussion of fertility struggles in IVF, mention of surgeries and medical treatments, emotional and mental health challenges, loss of a parent and grieving process, and conversations about death and dying. Our goal is to share real-life experiences in a respectful and empathetic manner, offering insights into the complexities of the human spirit and the journey towards resilience. However, we understand that some content might be difficult for listeners. We encourage you to prioritize your well-being and discretion when deciding to listen. Please remember this podcast is not a substitute for professional advice or support. If you find yourself needing assistance, we urge you to seek help from qualified professionals or trusted support systems. Your mental and emotional health is important to us. Thank you for your courage and for joining us in a space of understanding and compassion. Welcome back, everybody, to Radiant Resilience. My guest today is the wonderful Lisa White. Lisa White is a holistic IVF coach, a national board certified occupational therapist, author of the fertility book Hold On Baby, and the host of the Soulful IVF podcast. She specializes in helping women navigate the all-encompassing ride of IVF with a focus on mindset, energetics, and overall well-being. She is the founder of IVF Manifesting a Miracle. As a lifelong practitioner of manifestation and intentional living, Lisa applied these same principles on her IVF journey. With one healthy embryo holding on for her and her husband, they beat the odds and found success despite a long road of unexpected setbacks and surgeries. Through it all, she stayed hopeful and empowered, trusting in the unfolding of it all. Lisa offers specialized fertility coaching support to women in both private one-on-one and intimate group settings. She resides just north of Denver, Colorado with her husband and 6-year-old daughter. And I met Lisa through my fertility journey, and also we both live in Colorado. Yeah, so welcome, Lisa.
Thank you, Tani. This is so special to be here with you. Thanks for having me.
Of course. Thanks for coming on. Why don't you start a little bit with your life journey in general? Obviously, IVF is a part of that, but also you have had some other struggles as well.
Yeah. Wow. Big question. My life journey. Oh boy. I'm a Denver native, Colorado native, and only child.
Oh, I don't know if I knew that.
You don't know that. Okay. Yeah. So my path, I feel, where do I want to begin with this? I've always been a pretty introspective person, open to new experiences and learning. I was very close to my mom. My mom passed 5 years ago. And thank you. It's just thinking about this topic and resilience, and all my life, looking back, this is what it's about. It's putting yourself out there. It's trying new things. It's moving forward through different obstacles, challenges. And I had a really wonderful childhood. I was very active in sports while in school. I was more on the shy side as a kid and emerged more as I got into my athletics in high school. I like flourished in volleyball and was on a competitive volleyball team as a 15, 16-year-old. I would say that's some of where a lot of my like tenacity and resilience building like was really like emerging more and more on a competitive team, traveling and playing sports. I always knew I wanted to go into the health field and help people and thought physical therapy was going to be the route for me. And then I learned more about occupational therapy and it just suited me so much better. And the art and the creativity and the science and
Can you
really helping people.
explain
Yeah.
occupational therapy a little
Yeah.
bit more? Because I feel
Yeah.
like I've had a few clients over the years that were occupational therapists, and I always think I
Mm.
know what it is. And then I'm like, oh, that's not what I thought it was at all. So can you give a description of
Yeah.
that?
Yeah. It's like really, so thinking of occupation is like what we do in our everyday, not like a job, but it's really the job of living. So everything
Mm.
we do can be looked at as an occupation, rest as an occupation, our leisure and our hobbies. Like I know you like to make macaroons, right? Like
Yes.
those hobbies and activities that we love to do, writing for me, journaling, and it's our self-care. It's like everyday activities and it's using these everyday occupations to enhance our quality of life.
Okay.
So enhance our participation in it. If it's a role, if it's a habit, if it's different routines and wherever we're living, whether it's at school, like I've worked with kids in school settings as an OT, helping them with their job of school in quotes, right? Being able to function and learn in a classroom and their fine motor skills. And then taking it to adults, it's if someone had a stroke, learning how to dress themselves again, learning how to get to the
Wow.
bathroom. So it's, and doing their favorite activities.
Mm.
So it's a really special, meaningful profession that I'm so grateful I had. I've been doing it for 24 years. It's a long
Wow. Yeah.
time.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that was like my foundation in my profession. I started at Colorado State. I played volleyball there as a walk-on. I was just committed to excelling and like wanting to go after goals and dreams. And so playing volleyball, I did that for a year, tried to get an occupational therapy school there. Long story short, I transferred to Creighton in Omaha, Nebraska. I was there for a couple of years. After that, moved to San Diego to begin my career. And I lived out there for 9 years. So working in pediatrics and adult rehab, all these different settings, living the life, living the beach life. Like
That sounds lovely.
it was wonderful. Yes. And I came back in 2010, met my husband in 2012. We got married in 2014 and then started trying to have a family.
Yeah.
Confronted with fertility challenges, which we can talk about. We needed IVF. We had some male factor challenges. I had polyps and things that needed to be taken care of. And everything has just honestly led to the most beautiful kind of unfolding. It's like I've let life move me and I not really having a plan. I think I just kept following my heart and from moving to new places that I didn't even know anybody, taking on different jobs, coming back to Colorado, meeting my husband on Match. I was all about vision boards and I like did a vision board and manifested him in my life. And there's so much like richness when you open up to life. And I took this approach, like, I'm going to be okay no matter what. I'm just going to keep following my heart and writing and all these things. So yeah, naturally going through fertility challenges, it wasn't something like we ever planned for as very well. You never plan for that. And taught me a lot about resilience. That's for sure.
Yeah.
But we did have quote success with our one embryo or one healthy embryo and had to go through a couple egg retrievals to get one healthy embryo. And I will share this too, because it's a big part of the story is at the same time, while striving to become a mom, my own mom's health was declining. And so navigating that like full circle of wanting to bring life in, being your own mother's life fade away. It still brings me to tears because it's like that love and my mom, like her phrase was the love is always there. And that love was always going to be there. And it still is to this day. Even though my daughter like got 11 months with her, like her spirit is so strong and we talk about Grammy a lot. And I've gone through loss. I had 4 months after my mom passed, my grandmother passed.
Oh gosh.
Oh boy. Tony, what are you doing to me, girl?
It's okay, girl. Let it out. Let it out.
I'm losing it. But no, it's just, I haven't talked about this in a little while. So it's grandmother, another hugely influential part of my life, got me into journaling when I was 10 years old. And
Mm,
I've written, that's part of me putting out a book in 2020, all these things.
mm,
You can look back at who were the people that influenced you along the way. And my grandmother had this love of travel, and that inspired my love of travel, and her just creativity and her art. She was an artist, and there's just so many cool parallels and those gifts that keep giving. So, oh boy, it's loss and grief teaches us a lot, and
it's so hard.
it's so
It's so
hard. And
hard,
I'm
but it
coming
does
off of
teach us a lot.
a really hard year too. 2023, I lost about 5 close people to me in my life, all like
Mm.
within a span of a few months. And it was just like,
Oh
wow,
man.
these are moments that really test you.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
And
fertility is one of those as well. It's just, okay, how much can we withstand? How much can we move through this heartbreak? And only those of us who've gone through a lot of loss and grief, I believe it strengthens us. It enhances, I like to say, it enhances our capacity to even love even more and have
mm,
greater like empathy and compassion for the road ahead, right? Because what we've
oh,
lived through.
if there's anything that I've gained from my fertility journey, it's the compassion. And I'm so
Yeah.
grateful for that, even though it's like obviously not something I would have liked to have gone through in my life, but the compassion side of it is just, I don't know. It's amazing how much I've learned in that. And
Yeah.
I remember before I went through my fertility stuff, even just a friend who lost a dog. And that
Oh,
wasn't something that I'd ever gone through. And I was just like, they were devastated. And I was like, I don't even know how to help this person or respond or whatever,
yeah.
or what to say. And I'm sure I said all the wrong things. Oh, the whole, they're in a better place, or they're like all the
Yeah.
things. And then now I would approach it so differently than I
Mm,
would have back then. And I'm very grateful for that compassion and
mm,
understanding that I've gained from all of that.
yeah. Those are teaching moments, right? It's we don't know then all of these moments where, yeah, it helps you see things in a new perspective.
Yeah. I will say just what I've watched of your journey, watching you stay as positive and
Mm.
your miracle mindset that you keep. How do you hold on to that through the really hard
Mm.
times?
It's not easy. It's a daily choice.
Mm,
I would say that's really key is we have a choice in how we're going to view challenging situations. And that is something also my mom taught me too. It's we can't control what happens to us, but we can control how we react.
mm,
And so I choose to look through a lens that is one that's going to help me move
mm,
forward, not stay stuck in a place that I allowed myself to feel grief and sadness, and it's not the toxic positivity. I am really a big believer. You need to feel all your emotions and have the cry and have the
mhm. Yes,
get on the bathroom
absolutely.
floor and all of those moments. And so it's okay allowing yourself the space to feel all of that and then choosing to get up again and to choose a more helpful frame of mind. So that's one of the key things is a choice. And that's something that is always within our control.
Hmm.
I'm a believer in let's be active participants in our lives.
Yeah.
Let's not let other people dictate how we should feel or supposed to feel or, oh, you should be over that. No,
Mm,
like I'm going to allow
yeah.
myself to move through it the best way that I know how, you know? But a miracle mindset, it is a way of, I've made it a way of living. I'm trying to think exactly where it all started, but honestly, like it's in my blood. I think my grandfather, he was very much into like personal development books and
Okay.
influenced my mom and her in the way she would raise me. And just we'd have these really deep discussions about life and living.
I love that.
And so that has carried through in my life where I don't want to play a victim in my life. I
Mm,
want to be a co-creator. I believe in
yes.
manifestation. And so it's like utilizing a higher power, a higher God source universe, like that we get to co-create. And
Mm,
it's a daily choosing and an energy and a frequency. And so it's like I say, it's a way of being and a way that can help us get through challenging times that we all experience. It doesn't just go
yeah.
away. They
Yeah.
continue in every stage of life.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And just when you get past one, sometimes another
hmm
one creeps up, and we have to constantly be working on that. Would you say that your fertility journey was probably the first real big challenge you'd had in life, or?
Oh gosh, let me think. When I was playing competitive volleyball, and I remember even using that experience as my college essay to get into school, like writing about sucking it up. And it was almost
Mm.
like this
Wow.
military training. We had these coaches who like pushed me beyond like ever. Like the drills, the intensity. It felt like I was in like a military training. I was like, wow, at like 15, 16 years old, that really does shape you. So
Yeah,
that
for
mental
sure.
toughness, like I was putting my body through a lot and practices and trainings. And so that was a kicker and challenging me. And how much do I really want this? And is this worth it? And I learned a lot of mental strength and training through that experience that supported me trying to get an occupational therapy school. That was a bit of a challenge. Like, didn't get in the first go round. It was a lottery.
Okay.
And it was just like, okay. So then I applied to three other schools. Two of
Okay.
them were lotteries and two were not, that I had to write an essay for. I got into the two that were not the lotteries. So that was incredible. And just like a testament of, okay, they know something about me. It was like I wrote about myself and choosing Creighton, and yeah, things work smooth sailing. I trying to think back, but yeah, when you're confronted moving back to Colorado and then meeting my husband, it was like, we learned we had challenges and it was a gut punch.
Mm.
Wow. Okay. This is how we're going to try to navigate having a family.
Yeah.
And my husband and I had some big talks about that as far as hoping this would all work out. And he
Mhm.
felt some guilt, thinking there was a lot on him. I had my polyps, and that we just, again, using that miracle mindset, I'm like, I'm going to approach this openly and trusting that the doctors and my team are going to help us. And this is an area I can't control the medical side.
Did
But
you go
yeah,
into your IVF round in the beginning as I don't know, I went into mine as my very first one as this is just going to solve all my problems and I'm just going to get pregnant from IVF and everything's going to be great. I guess the
oh,
slight difference is that we were unexplained infertility, but
okay. Yeah.
so we didn't have specific things. So in my
Hmm.
head, I was like, oh yeah, this is just going to fix all my problems and it's going to be fine. And then I was sorely mistaken after my first egg retrieval. So is that,
Yeah, I was very naive. I didn't know anything really about the process.
yeah.
I did not. That's a good question. I'm trying to think back. I just felt, okay, this is where we're going to start. We're going to start
Yeah.
here. It was a huge letdown after the first egg retrieval, finding none of our four embryos were healthy.
Yeah.
You have all these hopes and dreams, and you're just like thinking, okay, maybe four potentials. And then
Yeah.
finding we did genetic testing and none came back healthy.
Mm.
I was like, oh my gosh. Okay. So having the courage, the resiliency to try another round. And you've gone through many. So again, not the comparison thing. We move forward, we tried
Yeah.
again. And out of three embryos, got one healthy embryo.
Mm.
And I don't know why we didn't keep going to try. I hate the word banking more embryos,
Mm.
but we did
Yeah.
not. We just had our one. And I just had that faith and that trust. Like, okay, like we're going to roll this dice and see where it lands. And we're going to just give it our all. And again, I'm going to focus on what I can control. But yeah, that fertility journey was a huge eye opener in me looking at how do I want to live? First of all, I'm a big believer. Let's live through our fertility journey.
Mm.
I wanted to live. I was not going to let our fertility setbacks take over my life. I made a conscious decision about that. And we had setbacks with polyp surgery, scar tissue surgery. Doctor left the practice, get a new doctor, canceled transfer, fibroids found, fibroid surgery. That was over a year.
That's a lot in a year.
Holding on for our one embryo. But as my book, and this is what I'm about, is hold on to you first.
Hmm.
I knew I had to hold on to me to ride this uncertainty, as my mom is also in and out of the hospital at the time, had a long-standing respiratory condition. So I'm caring for her. I'm grieving, like seeing her decline. I'm going through IVF. And it was a combination of both of those things that were like hugely life-changing experiences. that shaped me
Yeah.
and shifted me. How do I want to say this? Made me a stronger person. And I think all those fertility struggles, it gave me a superpower that I didn't know I had.
Mm. I love looking at it that way. That I haven't quite gotten to that point in my
Well,
life yet,
I can read you, and I
but
was going to share this because I've journaled my whole life. And as I was in the writing phase of my book, I can share this with you, but I did write a poem, and I was thinking
yeah.
about this talk, coming to talk with you about this and resiliency. And I remembered writing this, and I was like, maybe this would be worth sharing for listeners, but would
Yeah, absolutely.
you like
Please
to
do.
hear some of
Yeah.
it? Okay. Infertility gave me my superpower. It taught me I can get through most anything. It taught me that there really are miracles around us. It taught me that nothing is more important than taking care of you first, that a tribe of your people is everything going through this. That there's a gift in every challenge or setback if we're patient enough to wait for its reveal. It taught me about the depths of real lows, but the most elevated feelings also one can experience. I've witnessed real heartbreak. I've witnessed intense joy. I know of wanting nothing more, but then recognizing what it truly is, not losing yourself over this. It taught me who will walk along me in the hard times and who is meant to leave your side. It helped me experience grief that aided me in getting through the passing of my mom. I had more tools on how to cope, and it validated there are real miracles. I'm eternally grateful as I look into my daughter's eyes, said my soul's reflection, that I'm in awe and I was determined to live in more awe. You know, it
That's so good.
writing is really healing and very, I don't know, comforting for me, for anyone listening. If you haven't tried writing and just like pouring your heart out, allowing yourself to release heavy emotions. And then at times like this, where some of those lessons and gifts can come through these really challenging times. I would have never in the beginning thought, oh, my fertility challenges are going to become like a superpower.
Yeah.
And
I
you,
love
gosh, I just having walked this path a bit with you and the courage and what you've created with this podcast. This is success in my eyes of like, I'm gonna cry, but it's like success that you are reclaiming your life.
that's a good I haven't looked at it that way either, but it's true. In full transparency, I'm not sure I knew who I was
Mm,
prior to my fertility stuff. I was young and yeah, I guess I was living my life. I was traveling. I was
yeah.
doing hair and having a good old time, but it has been, what's the word I want to use? It's shaken up my world in more ways than just
Yeah.
fertility. And then I'm facing now the potential of living a childless life. And that's a whole other beast to tackle as
Mm,
well. And that's where I'm trying to find myself in that for sure. And I always thought that I would do something to help the fertility community. I didn't know what that
yeah.
was. And so this is my attempt at trying to help not just the fertility community, but everyone.
Yeah. And you are so strong. And
Oh, thank you.
I mean that sincerely. I've seen the heartbreak you've gone through over the years, and yet you continue to rise and you rise. And this Radiant Resilience podcast, you embody that.
Oh, thank you. Everybody has their shit. Everybody has
The messy middle,
stuff.
as you call it,
And
right? The messy life is not rosy and perfect. I
and
mean,
we live in a society that
yeah, yeah,
makes it seem like everybody's life is perfect, and it's just not. And I
that's
just
not
want to
real.
put that
That's not
reality
reality.
out there that whatever anybody's going through, there are other people going through things similar, not similar, whatever, but we're all going
Mhm.
through something, and
Oh,
no one's life is perfect. I don't care what they try to portray.
oh, preach. Yeah. This is where I love conversations like this that are just heartfelt and real, because it's like
Yeah.
the perfect life, it doesn't exist. People can't relate to that. And it's the adversity is really what shapes you. The
Yeah.
adversity, the setbacks, the challenges. We're more connected, yet we're also feeling more isolated. It's like kind of both.
Yeah.
It's like how many of us have experienced struggles and challenges, feels like we're all the only one, but no, like all of us. And that is one thing I think that unites us all. Like we've all, I think, experienced some grief, experienced some loss, and
Yeah.
different forms of loss can be in many different ways. Loss of self, loss of a loved one, loss of an expectation, something you thought was going to happen the way it was going to happen.
Hmm.
Of course, there's like loss of job
Hmm.
but that loss, I think what I love about what I see you do. And in this, conversation, it's like reclaiming yourself, and we are stronger than our challenges, like
Yeah.
really at the core of it. Like
Yeah.
we continue to rise up.
Do you think you were doing a lot of mindset stuff and everything? Because you said your mom and your grandpa started that
Mm-hmm.
stuff. So prior to your fertility struggles and
Oh,
that
yeah.
chapter of your life, you were already starting to work
Oh,
on that
yeah.
stuff.
Very much. Yeah. I started keeping a journal at 10 years old. And so being mindful of having an outlet to pour into, being an only child too, that was some
Yeah.
solace for me to write. And that, yeah, mindset is everything. And that was a big part of going after things I wanted, right? Like playing on a competitive team, getting into a college, getting into the occupational therapy program, moving to San Diego back in, what was that, 2000, right after September 11th, moved there. I didn't
Mm.
know a soul really. I was living this life of adventure, but the mindset and that attitude of expecting good things to happen and come my way, that was my mantra through IVF, was like expecting wonderful things to happen. I just, and I miss that, like being on the open road. I know you and your husband travel a lot. I
Yeah.
always see your travel pictures. I'm like, oh my gosh, that looks so amazing to go there for just like months on end. But just this attitude of seeing life as an adventure, and setbacks are going to happen and things. And it's like, I've gotten to the point where nothing really rattles me anymore.
Mm.
I just think through all different adversities and setbacks, it's like, power of intention and power of manifestation. Okay, I'm going to put out the good feeling vibes. Like I'm going to put out this energy. That's something within my control. I think that was something I just got at a young age. Like before The Secret came out, I was always practicing The Secret, all that stuff. I'm like, this is not new.
That's so
When I
funny.
heard that, I was like, okay, I've been reading books on this my whole life, really.
Yeah.
I have books upon books, like my office. I have so many books. I was like, just that whole mindset of like, we get to choose and we get to lean in, and everything's energy. So thoughts are energy. Yes, I was practicing in a long worded answer. Yes, I was practicing these things like at a very young age.
Because I think
Yeah.
that's a lot of this stuff. It
Mm,
takes a lot of practice to
you're
get to
right.
that point, to be able to pull yourself out of the lows a little bit faster. Because I know I've noticed that with myself. Like earlier on, it took me a very long time to pull myself out of a low. And the more healing that I do and stuff, the easier it becomes. Not saying it's easy by any means, still have very difficult moments, but coming out of it gets a little bit easier every time. And then, yeah, doing things like journaling, meditating, stuff definitely helps. But what would you say to somebody who maybe has not been able to practice that stuff for very long and is trying to
Mm.
pull themselves out of a deep, dark place?
I think one of the things, it's important to look at yourself, and self-awareness is a skill that knowing what your body needs and wants, the self-regulation part is really coming through right now. That is one of the skills that I learned. It's hard to know exactly when that started, but I learned a lot in my occupational therapy training about self-regulation, being able to calm yourself, being able to tune inward. And it's like either raising that vibration or calming it down. So it's either like we need to heighten and wake up our body, or we need to like tone things down, if that makes sense. So
Yeah.
it starts with this self-awareness. And I would say getting quiet and listening.
Which is scary for some people.
Yeah. It really can be, right? Like just getting quiet. We live in a society that is so noisy, so loud. It doesn't honor the like quiet time. It doesn't look at rest as a productive quote occupation. It doesn't, right? It's like the busier you are, the better you are. No,
Yeah.
it's actually not helping our well-being if we're in a state of constant like fight, flight, rushing all the time. Like our bodies need this like tending to, the quieting. So that's where the answers really come, I believe, like when we get in that quiet space. So the meditation, or just give yourself a few minutes to tune inward. Like, how am I feeling? So somatic work, tuning into our body. Our bodies are always communicating to us. Does it need rest? Does it, if you're in like, if I'm just taking back, if you're in a really dark place, allowing yourself to feel any feelings that are coming up. Don't rush anything. Having a notepad helps, just to write down, getting things out of you. I like the old school handwriting instead of being into a phone. That's still helpful, but like the actual act of writing
And
can be
one thing
really
somebody
helpful.
told me with that too is to not have any expectations for yourself on that.
Yeah.
Because I
Yeah.
think when I first started journaling, I was like, I got to tell this journal my whole life story and I have to do it in proper grammar and English and everything.
No,
Now I've gotten to
no.
the point where I'm just like, none of my sentences make sense. Words are spelled wrong.
Oh
Like,
yeah. Get it out. Like
but
sometimes when I've
yeah.
been really angry, anytime, any emotion, like a rage, anger, a sadness, some of my best writing comes out when I'm just like,
Yeah.
like letting
Yeah.
myself pour out on the page. Finding people who can hold space for you, your people who don't judge, who are just there to listen. Taking like maybe you need an audit of your relationships, right? Like where people
Mm,
look around them and are these people that really leave me feeling lit up and good? Do they hold space? Do they help me? Do they see me? Or are they people who maybe aren't very present? People who don't completely understand. And I always love Brene Brown, who says, share your story with those who've earned the right to hear it, right? Sometimes
that's
we don't
so
have
good.
to open up to everybody,
Yeah.
but if we have those core people who we do want to open up and share our story, sharing can be really healing,
Yeah.
letting people in and going through a fertility path. I get asked that question a lot, like about sharing and how much to share and what should I be more open in sharing? And only right?
Mm,
When how much you want to share and let people in. But I always believe it's not an obligation to update people every time where you're at. It's actually can cause more kind of stress on your life
yeah.
if you feel like you have to constantly be updating everybody and everything. I went really inward and shared with some people, but I was like protective of that, of my energy. And
Yeah.
so if you're in a low place, I think like also just protecting that energy to tend to you first, because
Mm,
you're not going to be able to give to others if you're just like feeling so depleted.
for sure.
So filling up your cup, and gosh, I could share a lot. Doing self-care, doing
Mm,
activities that light you up, that help you feel good. So if it's like for you traveling, if it's just something simple, go treat yourself to a
yeah.
different setting, get yourself in a different environment, right? Like what
Yeah.
lights you up? Movement's always really helpful. Get outside, take a walk, be in nature.
Yeah.
So I believe in just the healing powers around us of fresh air and walk barefoot in the grass or go listen to some birds and just treat yourself to whatever is calling to you.
Yeah.
Those are a few things I would say.
That's a lot of really good advice. And I think sometimes easier said than done for some
Yeah,
people, I think. And like I said, this is a practice.
it is.
It's
Yeah.
not something that's going to happen overnight and be the next day you feel just totally
Yeah.
fine or the next hour even. And then
Yeah.
triggers happen too. So where you get knocked down as well.
Yeah. If you can't get out of bed and no, I'm not about the shoulding, like I need to, I like
Don't
let go of
shit all
all
over
don't
yourself. I
should
love that
let go
saying.
of all of that. And I always like a reframe that I help clients with is I
Mm,
get to move my body because it helps me feel good. I get to go on a walk, or not that I need to or I should, because when we place those labels on it, it just makes it not fun.
yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Yeah. And
So
the I get to is definitely a different reframe of mind. I've actually
yeah.
just recently been thinking about that too.
Mhm.
We are so lucky, and a lot of people are very privileged and need to appreciate some of that stuff a little bit more. I think about when I was going to school and I hated
Mhm.
school, but like the little kids in Africa are like, I love going to school. That's like a huge privilege for them.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I don't want to go to school.
No, it's seriously, it's
But
that element of gratitude. I think that's a really key thing as
yes.
well that we could talk about is like, what can you be grateful for in this moment? And I think having worked with people when I worked in healthcare with all different people of all different kinds of with different challenges, limitations, it really gave me a unique perspective on the fragility of life and
Mm,
really helping me see, wow, to get up, to be able to get out of bed, to get dressed, to go to the bathroom, to feed myself. I've worked with so many people and different like paraplegics, quadriplegics, stroke, memory impairment. There's so many things where I'm like, we are so lucky to have the health that we do. Like everything we get to do is a gift.
yeah.
For so many, just the fact of being able to scratch an itch on your nose. I know that sounds so silly, but it's like I've worked with people who like could not do that. Pushing buttons to communicate, using equipment to help them with everyday activities that we just take for granted, you know?
Yeah. It's interesting how that stuff gets put into perspective.
Mhm.
I always experience that when I'm traveling too, seeing other cultures and the poorer parts of the world. And then here in America, we get so stuck in the grandiose of everything, of bigger, better, fancier, more money, more this, more that. And then I go to some of these other countries where these people are just as happy, if not happier, with way less. And then it's so easy to get stuck in the rat race here. So it's really nice to get that reset of going and seeing that and coming back and just having that perspective of other people around the world.
I'll never forget too. I got to do one of my internships in the Dominican Republic for a summer. And I came back, arrived in Miami after spending a little over a month there. I was working in a burn unit with children, an orthopedic unit with kids, and getting to just experience the simplicity of life and what makes them light up: music, dance, family. Like those are like their religion, their faith. And we didn't have TVs. We were listening to music. We were just connecting with people in the community where we lived. It was a group of maybe 15 of us from Creighton that went and did this. It was the coolest experience. And just coming back, like, I was just, it did not sit well with me. I was like, I want to go back there.
Yeah.
I had so much fun. It was just like a reminder of the simplicity of life and just those simple joys.
Yeah.
The simplicities and just the food, everything just seemed so much better and richer there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's interesting because a lot of people here would think they have less. So they're not experiencing that level of life happiness that we are.
Yeah.
But it's not even true. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm so grateful for those experiences because we're so fortunate here. And even the chance to go through fertility treatments, getting back on that topic, it was like reframe of, wow, I get to do this. Not the way I thought I was going to try and become a mom, but I'm going to embrace this path, give it my all. And even taking my shots, I like have the mindset of get the chance, like this is one step closer. And I remember wearing a shirt when we found out we were pregnant with our one. And it was like the shirt said, "Every day brings me closer to you." And that was just such a great reminder of why I was doing all this. And thank you, Tani. It's just, this path will continually test you and test you. And as it really does transform you, and we can look at it and is it going to transform me into something that, look at how it's transformed you. Like this podcast wouldn't probably have been birthed, but you've gone through and some of your challenges. So
yeah, as hard as it is, there are silver linings and things.
Silver linings.
Yeah. To try to look for those as much as you can, if you can. I've had my angry moments where I'm like, there's nothing positive about this right now. But feel that anger, let it out, maybe go throw some things and then.
We go at like axe throwing or break some dishes, or there's different things I've seen in Denver where it's like woman created like a business where you can just go break plates.
Sounds great.
I think I need to bring a few fertility sisters along and let's all go shatter some plates.
Do a group
do
field trip. Yeah, I feel like I've talked about doing one of those things several times.
Oh, really?
I've been in that moment. I'm like, oh man, I could really go use one of those angry things. But I don't know if it would have the same effect if I just went when I wasn't angry. Or do you have to decide in the moment to go do that?
Good question. Probably in the moment's like more effective, but even like a friend of mine created a dance. Oh gosh, what is it called now? It's like tone up from the soul up, sweating it out. But it's like this whole thing where part of the dance is letting out the rage.
Okay.
Forgive me. My friend Salwa Owens, I can't remember what the program's called, but Divine Sweat. And so I've gone to some of those in Denver and you just let it out, but movement, dancing, I think anything artistic too.
Yeah.
Like paint. So even through our fertility path, I got connected to an art therapist and being open to it all. Like I was in a book club met my Reiki practitioner. Then I meet my friend who's an art therapist. And she's like, do you want to do my art program? I'm like, yeah. So I signed up for that as we were holding on to trying to get one healthy embryo, but like art. And I write about this in the book, but it's like how I was using color and paint to like really viscerally let out some of these emotions. And the art was like emerging and showing me all these like messages like
Oh,
through the art. I
wow.
was like, okay. And my heart, like even covered it in black. And then I had all this, it's just like this process, but the heart was at the center of it. And that like
Mm.
still emerged. And so I remember writing about that and how, okay, no matter what, I'm going to stay connected to
Yeah.
the love in my heart and not lose myself through this. And oh, yeah. So art could be one way for people to also just unleash, uncover, if you will,
I feel
their
like anything
gifts. And
creative helps.
oh my gosh, 100%. We're creative beings, like all of us. It's not just like one of us that, oh, she can paint. It's maybe she sings, maybe she dances, writes music. Like you cook, you're a baker, you're a
Yeah.
hairstylist. You
Yeah.
create art through with
Yeah.
hair. So
Yeah.
it's, you are creative. You've done my hair for me before. So
Yeah. 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 Just a different canvas.
it is like whatever canvas. What do you want to create on? The
Yeah.
world is your canvas.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh,
I'm so
man.
excited for you. This podcast, like everything, like these
Thank
conversations that
you.
they're really rich and just this is a new canvas for you. And I have a
Yeah.
podcast. Like it's so fun, isn't it? Getting to
Yes.
put
Yes.
our spin on things and have these like really powerful conversations.
And feel like I'm helping people. That's what I really
Yeah.
like. I hope that people listening to all of these episodes find some type of solace or something in it. I hope it's
Mm.
not just all doom and gloom all the time, but
No.
I do think it's when you're going through stuff, it's so easy to feel alone and isolated and not understood. I think that's been a huge one for me is not feeling like anyone understands. And I still feel that way because I haven't met anybody that walked my walk, but also nobody's ever walked my walk because that's my story. But it can feel so isolating sometimes, and that can add to the depression and the low times and the dark times as well.
Mhm.
So I just hope that people listening can at least know they're not alone, or at least learn something like from you.
Thank you. Wow.
I
I love
admire you
you.
so much for everything
Mhm.
you've gone through and still being able to stay
Mhm.
positive because, it is hard. And when you've been knocked down and knocked down and knocked down again, it sometimes gets harder and harder to get back up.
Yeah, the further you get knocked down, what is it? The higher you can bounce back.
Ooh, I like
I
that.
can't take full credit for that. I interviewed Coach Dar, who wrote The Art of Bouncing Back, and it's a really good book. And she shared that on my podcast too. Like truly all these experiences that push you down, you can only think about springing forward. The further you get knocked down, you're going to bounce back even higher. I think life would be pretty boring if we didn't have things that really tested us. This is life. This is the human
Yeah.
experience. We can't avoid
Yeah.
pain. We can't avoid discomfort. And if life were always just smooth sailing, like really, where's the growth in that?
Oh,
I
for
mean,
sure. Yeah.
I think I'm always impressed by people who've gone through just incredible adversity and who've turned their life around and it's shaped them. It's shaped their perspective and who they are, right? Like you're not the same person you were however
Yeah.
many years ago when
You can't be.
you can't be. And do you want to be? Do people want to
Mm,
be the same type of person? Like I sure don't. And
I
it's
don't.
been a lesson that I've learned. I've had some friends drift away and we change, right? Like we
Yeah.
change, we evolve. We're meant to. I think I like to surround myself with people called like expanders, people who like raise you
Mm,
higher, they expand you higher,
yeah.
you know? Like I'm ready to tackle like new challenges, like being an entrepreneur and helping women on their fertility path. And it's like I have learned so much just stepping into this and so grateful like when you and I got to connect and every person I've gotten to walk alongside it, like it really does expand you even more where
Hmm.
you're learning what you're capable of. You're learning um, how much you can help impact people, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, it's been a huge learning curve. Podcasting, writing a book, anything worth a
That's
dream, anything worth
amazing.
going for. I can tell you a lot of adversity in all those situations. So,
Yeah. Oh,
yeah.
yeah. Oh,
It
yeah.
changes you, it shapes you. But I'm like, okay, one hurdle, the next hurdle, and the next hurdle. I'm almost like, bring it. Like, I'm ready for more challenges. No, universe, I don't want more challenge. No, I'm just kidding. Watch what
Maybe
you ask
little
for.
ones.
Watch what you ask for. But I think
Yeah.
that healthy amount of striving and overcoming, and it's just, yeah, it's cool. And you can look back and wow, look what I overcame. Look what I created. Look what I put in the world.
Yeah.
Look at the lives I've gotten to impact.
Yeah.
So
And probably without going through your fertility journey, you
I would
wouldn't
not
be
be
doing this
here. I
right
would not.
now.
Oh, hell no. I would not be doing, it was never on my radar to be in the fertility industry. Are you kidding me? Like the
Yeah.
furthest thing from my mind. And that's
Yeah.
what I'm talking about, are these gifts that if we can step to look, really get quiet and listen. And I was holding Olivia and she was 5 months old, I remember. And I was just like, I wanted to do something different. It came to my mind. I was just like, I'm holding her thinking, you went through all this for a reason.
Mm.
You went through this really differently. You have a lot you can share from your background, from how you approached it, your mindset, the way you navigated this path, giving hope to people. Like you had one healthy embryo. You're
Yeah.
holding her right now. She's 5 months. I was just like, all these downloads were coming through. And that's when it hit me. I'm like, yeah, I want to use my voice. I want to step into this space. And I remember sharing that with my mom. She did get to know before she had passed. And this was, gosh, she passed in August of 2018.
Mm.
Olivia was just 11 months old. I didn't know I was going to be really coaching and writing and all the things, but it was like, I felt this calling and I told her, I want to step into this. I feel this calling within. And so I did get to share that with her. And then in 2019, started writing my book, 2020, releasing the book. And no, I did not have any intention of, you're going to be helping women in the fertility space. It's
Yeah.
like, sometimes the calling chooses you.
Yeah.
It's true. Because I listened and I answered the call. I'm like,
Yeah.
I want to help shift the narrative. Yes, this path is incredibly challenging. It's incredibly hard, but it also can be really beautiful.
Mm.
It can be so transformative. And I wanted to be a representation that I wasn't really seeing out there. I wanted to write a book that I did not see existed out there,
Mm. Yeah.
and put a podcast in the world that I did not see out there with Soulful IVF. These are all things that I'm grateful for, our challenges and our struggles, because they would not be here if I hadn't
Mm.
gone through all that. So thanks for asking that
Yeah.
and seeing that in me. Because I maybe would still be working as a traditional therapist, working in who knows, a school,
Yeah.
doing home care. I was doing home health care. There's so many, but there was a burning desire to step into the entrepreneur space. I just didn't know what that looked like.
Yeah.
So yeah, I thought maybe it'd be working with seniors, maybe it'd be in pediatrics, but then it was like, okay, you went through this fertility challenge for a reason and you love guiding and helping others. Like maybe this is where it's at. So
Yeah.
that's how it all unfolded, you know?
That's been a recurring theme in a lot of my episodes too, is what would you go back and change it all?
Mm.
Which aspects of it you would, right? Like you would rather have your mom here with you right now.
Yeah.
You would rather
Yeah.
have not had to go through fertility treatments and stuff like that.
Mm.
But when you look back on the path that you walked, where you
Mm-hmm.
are now and what you're doing now, almost
Mm-hmm.
everyone I've spoken to has said they would not change it.
Yeah, it's
Just
true.
aspects of it.
Yeah, aspects of it for sure. For sure. And looking at with my mom's health, I see it as a blessing that she doesn't have to suffer anymore.
Yeah.
You know? So it's
Yeah.
like, I wouldn't want her struggling to breathe. And
Yeah.
I'm grateful, like, she had as many years as she did. Yeah. Allow the feels, allow the emotion.
Yeah.
Oh gosh. Yeah. We're all here just to listen to that calling and to follow that calling and to like let go of the how and
Ooh, that's tough.
be led. There's
Letting
so
go
many
of
beautiful.
control is so hard.
Yeah, it really is. But it also becomes more magical. And I think you feel freer when you let
Mhm.
go, when you step into a space of, okay, my hands are like off the wheel. Yeah, I'm in the driver's seat, but I want to find joy. I want to find joy on this path. however I'm going to get there, the destination. I have this intention in my mind. For you, maybe yes, you want to be a mom. For everyone has their own different kind of things they want to call in. And it is the challenge, so challenging to let go of the how.
Yeah.
You keep your aim and you keep moving forward. And that's really all we can do, one step in front of the other.
Yeah.
That is a daily test of resilience.
Mm.
To just continue following the call. I'm a big believer in the signs and the symbols and looking to that and asking for help, like asking for support from the universe, that we're not alone in this. But yeah, you're right. We don't have the crystal ball to see the ending of all of this, but this is life. We're going to experience some challenging things and we're going to experience really beautiful things. And it's like a personal perspective and how we want to look at all of it.
Yeah.
We're all going to end up in the same place one day.
I recently listened to a whole podcast episode on that, and it was really interesting to have that conversation. Maybe we can do that one another day, but it's true. Like when you try to think about what matters in life and what, you know, what we're striving for and things like that, like at the end of the day, if you think about yourself on your deathbed and what you've done, what mattered and what didn't. And it's a huge question. And it's also really hard to answer, I think, when you're not there. But to think about,
I was with my mom when she passed. I've been with patients when they've passed, and those are moments where you really, wow, it drops you in. And thinking about what kind of legacy do you want to leave behind? What kind of impact do you want to make in the world?
Yeah.
So it does really shift things in a big way when you do put your life like in that kind of frame of mind, because we do not live forever, right? But making the most of our time here. And I'm so glad you're doing what excites you. I'm doing what excites me.
Live your best life. That's always I tell my sisters that all the time. I'm like, I just want you to live your best life and be so happy and do all the things you want to do. And because you only get one.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
Well, on that note, all right, I'm going to start to wrap this up here. What type of parting words or advice would you give to listeners about resilience, or if somebody's just in the midst of something? What do you want to say? What do you want to say to them?
Embrace it all. Embrace it all. We don't have control over everything. We have control over how we're going to respond, and know that there are going to be tough times that are going to come, part of life, and embracing it to allow us to fully experience the full range of human emotions and life and struggle and heartbreak and pain and joy in it, that it's all there for us. It's not happening to us, but it is all there happening for us. Maybe we can't see it right now, but by embracing it, make space for it. And know that you're not alone. And stories like these are so important to connect us all and just be a reminder that you will be okay. Yeah.
Oh, that's really good.
Thanks.
Thank you so much for coming on here and talking with me and having this conversation. It was so good. And thank you for sharing your story and being vulnerable yourself, all the tears. I appreciate. I don't take that for granted.
Oh, you brought it out of me. My gosh, I'm easy that way. I'm an emotional person, but
I understand. I cry about everything. So thank you. Thank you so much for that. And I really appreciate you. And I think listeners can find you on all social media platforms pretty much. I'm going to put everything in the show notes, but
my website, ivfmanifestingamiracle.com, and same for Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, my name, Lisa, YouTube. I'm everywhere, but
all right. I'll link all that in the show notes. And
Tani, love you, girl.
Thank you so much. Thanks for coming on here. And everyone, we will see you on the next episode. Thanks. Thank you so much for tuning into today's episode. If you enjoyed our conversation and found value in the stories shared, please consider following us on your preferred podcast platform. Your ratings and reviews make a huge difference. They help us reach more listeners and continue bringing you engaging, insightful content. We appreciate your support and would love to hear your thoughts and feedback. Until next time, keep listening, growing, and sharing.